Colin Byrne, thank you very much for joining the McLife. In a way, I feel like you're kind of the man behind the magic behind the Mac. You know, you're sort of in charge of the McGregor Fast system. You work with Doc, obviously. But I don't think your face has been out there just yet. So it's great to get a chance to talk to you and sort of explain where you come from, explain your role in the team and how it's grown over the past few years.
It's great to be on, Oscar. It's been a while. It's been a minute. My role, my official title is the Soigneur. Do you know what that is?
I do not know what that is.
Soigneur is a French term. It comes from the cycling era of things. And originally, years back in the previous incarnation, I was a cyclist. And the Soigneur was an ex-professional. He goes back and he looks after the team. You finish a stage in the Tour de France, he's waiting for you at the end. He's got a bag with change of clothes. He tells you where the hotel is. You get to the hotel, they already know you don't like pasta. You get up in the morning, he has your tyres pumped, he has your bottles ready, and all you got to do is ride the bike. So my job is to kind of fill in the gaps. And then with the skills of my martial arts over 20 years, so I fill in the gaps and help out where it needs to be helped.
Do you think someone like Conor needs that, right? They're this highly tuned athlete. They've got so much other business interest going on. Essentially, that role is incredibly important to their team because if they have to start worrying about the minutiae of what they have to do in their day-to-day life, they can get distracted from the things that essentially make them as successful as they want to be.
Well, I'm full-time with Conor the last couple of years, myself and the Doc, and he's invested in himself. So before that, it would have been you have a camp, everyone comes in for 8-10 weeks, and then everyone disappears again. You're left to your own devices. But he travels a lot, and he always wants to train, and it's a lot easier to have things organised for you. So when we're on the road, we're in France, we're in Monaco, we're in Corsica, we're in the States, we'll get ahead and see where there's somewhere to train, what we can train, source out with our training partners as well, and also train with them. But it's more kind of in the general things, we're with them all the time. And then fight camp, everyone else comes in and we up the game, and everyone's up the game for this camp. It's been pretty much perfect, really. And yeah, it's been great.
You were saying to me just before we went on camera how it's almost everything's just on point. And when you're a couple of days out, you know, everyone knows there's nagging injuries can play a factor. Everyone knows that the weight cut can sometimes not go as ideal as you want. But from what you're telling me and from what the whole team's telling me, it's almost, we can't quite believe how perfect things are. Is that accurate?
Yeah, there's always something. You know, either you've hurt your toe or you've scratched your skin or you've tweaked something a little bit. And all the fighters are always a little bit banged up because that's the game, isn't it? It's risky. But this one had zero injuries with anybody. And none of the training partners got injured. Everyone's up their game, including Conor, and from the top down, it's kind of spilled out, and everybody's just really up their game, and everyone is doing an exceptional job, and it's just he's the result of that.
We hear it often that this fighter is the best version, it's the best camp they've ever had, but I know you outside of this interview, and I know you can be a candid fellow. You've seen Conor go up and down in terms of his athletic prime, how he's currently training. In your opinion, compared to the last 5 years, how is he looking right now before this fight?
It's a result of what he's put in. He's been consistently on it all year, since before the Cerrone fight, and we've just been. Whereas, like I said before, he would have stopped and, you know, not trained as much. But we always had a plan, and we were always ready this time. And the call came, and we were pretty much ready from when the call came. But it's just the amount of work that he's put in. And you can see the way he looks. Everyone's saying how different he looks. And we haven't trained to make him look like that. That's just a result of what we've been doing. He's just been consistent. He's put the work in. He's been dedicated. Also, his mindset has been fantastic. And it's you know what it's like to be in a room with Conor. In a room with Conor, that's a happy, enthusiastic Conor. It just spreads out throughout the room. It's spread down to us. It's spread into everybody. Everyone's been in great form. And we've all really enjoyed it, which is hard to say when it's something that's serious, but we've enjoyed the whole process.
That's part of it though, right? I remember before the Cerrone fight, for example, the camaraderie you could feel in the camp when it was like counting down fight week, and I feel it again this time too. It is serious. There's a lot of money on the table, there's legacy on the line here, but when you have that levity in camp, I think people always started this journey because they enjoyed it, right? So when you have that in camp, it can sort of push you through the moments where this has been a long camp. It can push you through those moments. Do you think that's important to try and to cultivate that levity, or do you think it needs to be organic?
I think we've built on the last camp. I mean, the last camp was fantastic. The result was fantastic. Everyone excited to get back in again. But also just having structure, like really good professional structure, like a lot of, not so much in MMA, and I mean Conor has changed the sport of MMA, for having his own production company like TheMacLife, you know, having Claymore, having all these things, arriving on a 96-meter yacht. You think like like, you know, even when he said that the other day, saying, "Oh, gee, what a move," you know. But it's a case of most professional athletes invest in themselves. They put a lot of, because the payback is much more, tenfold, 100-fold of what you put into yourself. And he's invested in having a big team, a big crew, but everyone's on the same page. So it's one organic unit. And what's kind of knocked that home as well is we've been in a bubble the whole time. And it's made it even stronger. Like in Dubai, all I did was train and just go back to the hotel room and only see the guys. And we got tested every day. So it just makes that unit even more so. You know, it's just us. There's no outside. And that's really compounded things in. I'm thinking that's been a blessing as well. So I've been really happy how things gone. I'm really happy how everyone knitted, because everyone gets a day off where you just don't feel into it. I haven't had any of those. I haven't had any of those conversations with people where you need to kind of like, look, you know, we're nearly there. Hang on in there. It's nearly at the end of it. But it's just been, I think everyone's been saying the same thing, have they?
It's just, I think, they don't even need to say it. You know what I mean? We've been around when people aren't in a good mood, and you can see sort of, oh god, I'm nearly there. But for this, it's maybe part of that's because of the unique experience, the unique sort of, we're in a bubble in Abu Dhabi, you know, the Fight Island sort of concept. Maybe that's part of it, that it all feels fresh again. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not that it didn't feel fresh for the Cerrone fight, it hasn't felt fresh, but for me personally, talking to all of you guys, it just gets the sense that it's fun. You know, it's still fun from the Cerrone fight, and it's exciting to see, because I think that's when Conor performs his best, when everyone is just pulling in the same direction, unified.
The other thing is we've gone to a few different spots, whereas sometimes we've gone to Vegas for a long time, and Vegas can wear on you after a while, you know?
Yes, it can.
And we were in my place down in Lagos for 10 weeks, back to Dublin for Christmas, Dubai, and now here. So it's been, you know, if you're working in a job and you hate your job, but you know you got your holidays in 2 weeks, it makes it a little bit easier. So even if you were struggling in a particular place, you knew in 1 week's time or 2 weeks' time we're going to move on to somewhere else. You get re-energized by a new place, and it just goes from there. So I mean, since we've got here, I haven't even been locked in the room for 48 hours on the quarantine. It was just, you know, it just felt great, in a good spot. And that, like I say, it comes from the top down. He's in a good spot. We're all in a good spot. We all up our game, everybody, and everyone's doing a tremendous job.
Do you think that's something you guys could use for the next camp? Let's move locations every 2 to 4 weeks, because it does freshen things up. Is that something that perhaps is underrated by some other fighters?
The clue's in the word camp, if you know what I mean. If you look at Ali, actually had a camp. He went to a place to train, to get away from everything. Everyone says camp, but they're just going from the house to their gym. They haven't really gone anywhere. So the clue's in the word. Go somewhere. Get focused where you don't have any distractions. You don't have normal life in the way, where you can just, all you got to do is get up, eat, train, sleep, and repeat. And I mean, that's what a camp should be. And that's pretty much what it was. There's no distractions of, I find also when I go to different places, I fall back into the same routine. Like when I go back to my mother's house, I sit in the same chair. I keep having cups of tea. I never drink tea anymore. But you know, you just fall back into that kid you were 20 years ago. Whereas when you go away, you have this new energy of a new place, new discovery, new things to see, new civilizations, new cultures, new experiences. And that stems on into everything else. Whereas if you're just still in, you know, Dublin or your normal routine, it's very hard to get more motivated than it is when you go to Ibiza for 2 weeks, right?
I can get pretty motivated to go to Ibiza as well. A couple more questions, and I appreciate the time. Obviously, the McGregor Fast system, I know you guys just released the app. I see it out there, people getting involved in the poses and stuff. Just for those who are uninitiated, in a nutshell, what is the McGregor Fast system?
It's a system of training. So initially it was the doc's idea, and we have brought out the app. It's done phenomenal. We're going to champion, and in the future, and of now, we're looking to champion fitness, health, and giving people a way to feel like you're training with Conor. and doing what Conor does. And this is version 1. We're going to build on there from there. It's going to be version 2, version 3. We're going to add in equipment and threshold tests. But basically what it is, it's an anaerobic aerobic training system, where it's not always the same thing over and over again. It's basically working on different energy systems. It's getting you motivated, getting you in shape, getting you healthy, and giving you a good mind and a good body. I mean, that's the end product. And if you look anything like Conor afterwards, that's pretty much why he looks like that. You know, it's down to good diet. I mean, Tristan Kennedy's the best in the business, is at it all the time with him on a daily. And then with the strength and condition that we do with him, and then the MMA training and all the other skills training, that's the result of it. So, I mean, if that's the guy at the top, and that's the guy I want to look like, well, that's what I would go for. There's a lot of people out there that have systems and they tell you what to do, but they're just fat dudes, you know, shouting slogans at you. Like, I want to look, show me what you look like. Do you ever go to a class in a gym and the PE instructor looks like shit? You know, it's like, fuck, what am I going to his class for? Or if he looks like Conor, you go like, I want to look more like that dude. And that's what it boils down to. And if you put in the work and you show up and you be consistent, it's all good from there on in.
And last one, I'm toying with the idea of buying a running machine or a rowing machine, but I can't decide which one I should go for. What do you reckon?
Okay. Can you run outdoors?
Yeah, but I don't really like it. In Vegas, the heat's pretty bad.
Yeah, but just give me excuses, right?
That's fair.
If I would say a running machine or a rowing machine, I'd say a rowing machine, because then you could run outside. I don't like it. Well, what do you prefer? Being out of shape or running? So there's a compromise here. So it's the same thing as people say, I want to lose some weight. Okay, well stop eating cheese or stop eating, but I like cheese. Well,
that was actually my next point. Yeah.
Well, like, you gotta like consider, like, okay, if I eat cheese, how much fat is in cheese?
I'm assuming a considerable amount.
How much fat is in milk, full fat milk? 3%. How much fat is in standard cheese? 70%. So it's kind of like you have this thing of like some things are higher than others, but you know, you got to like educate yourself a little bit. And if I was going to pick one thing and there was only one thing I would do, I would get a row machine and I'd run outside. Plus you're getting fresh air, sunlight. It's not always super warm in Vegas, right?
It's all right at night.
It's all right, and I go run that night. You know, get a little sweat going, get a little routine, drive somewhere. You don't always have to just come out of your house and run. Just drive, go out that Red Rock Road. Yeah. You know, get lost in the desert for a little bit. You know, you see those dudes out there. So that's what I would say. Instead of a treadmill and then you're just, all I can do is treadmill. You know what it'll turn into? Clothes hanger. You know what I mean? And that's 90% of people that do that. So get outside, get some air. It's good for you. Get some vitamin D, some sunlight. You need vitamin D now in the current climate. Keep your immune system up, and that's what I would say.
Rowing machine it is. Thanks, Colin. Appreciate you.